Well, good morning. It's good to be with you again. Another privilege, in fact, that I get to, as John has pointed out, to stand before you all and maybe be a blessing to you. You talked about, do you have any trials? Do you have any tribulation? And if you would, go with me to 2 Samuel 21. Do you have any trials? Do you have? Yes. Well, it's been said, man's days are few and full of troubles. And if you don't believe that, just hang on. I remember when I was a kid, I thought I had a lot of problems. Daddy said, just wait. But he did his best to prepare me for this, disciple me. I didn't always listen. But train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is what? Old. You know, we're all young and stupid at some point. So have to get over that immaturity, I guess. Some of us, it takes longer than others. My wife says I'm in my second childhood for the third time, so we'll see about that. But no, we talked about never being alone. Missing my wingman this morning, Brother Ben. We're praying for him. Hopes he gets better soon. Bear ye one another's burdens. Bear ye one another's burdens. Pray for one another. You know, when I've been through a trial and I come out the other side of it, when I have a fellow brother or sister that go through a similar trial, I have a heart for them. Listen, when we lost my grandmother to cancer, I had friends around me that whenever they lost loved ones to cancer, I could feel their pain. I could identify with them. I could help them bear that burden. Now, it was not a joyous occasion for me to have to go through that, but that equipped me. The trials we go through that God puts us through should equip us. But there's times when we do need a helping hand. And David here gets into that situation. You know, I look at old Keaton back there, young and vibrant, and he's Jackson. These boys. And my 50-year-old body, my 5-year-old mind sometimes forgets that my body is 50 years old, and it's been keeping score. And David here, you may say he's hard-headed or whatever, you just see the human element here. You know, we are people, and these were people. But they serve the same God we serve. Verse 15 here, we're going to see what happens is that the Philistines rise up again. Listen, the enemies of God are relentless, aren't they? And why do they attack us? They attack God's children because they can't attack Him. So they take their wrath out on us. What did the dragon do? He cast forth a flood to consume the woman, and the earth helped the woman. He is angry at God's children. And that's why we're commanded to bear one another's burdens. We're going to need a helping hand. But I love to be a helping hand. Here in verse 15, moreover, the Philistines had yet war again with Israel, and David went down and his servants with him and fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. You ever waxed faint? You get faint. You know, one of the daily temptations I face is not to steal. It's not to kill. The daily temptation I face is to leave the battle. To quit. And David waxed faint here, but he didn't flee, did he? And Ishbi-Benob, which was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword thought to have slain David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, succored him and smote the Philistine and killed him. Then the men of David sware unto him, saying, Thou shalt no more go out with us to battle, that thou quench not the light of Israel. I want to talk to you this morning just briefly about facing the giants. We've already kind of mentioned that a little bit. There's 4 giants here that these men are going to face off with, and they're going to kill them. But David here is old. I love that David said in Psalm 37, he said, I am young, I have been young, and now I'm old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. David here was not forsaken. He could not handle this. And that's what I would like to be an Abishai. Listen, this is David's nephew, probably younger than him. This is his uncle David he's protecting. Do we look for an opportunity when we see one of our brothers or sisters about to be overcome by a giant? Do we look at that as an opportunity to slay that giant for them? I'm guilty of wanting to sit on the couch. And listen, Abishai couldn't do this if he wasn't in the battle. And that's why I said one of the greatest temptations I face every day is to go home. Spiritually, leave the battle. Quit fighting. Let them have it. Demas hath forsaken me. You think Paul was hurt? You think he was glad he left? Or sad he left? I've seen this in my lifetime. I've seen Christians leave the battlefield, having loved this present world. Tired of the fight. Listen, David was faint, but he didn't flee. In fact, his men had to tell him, hey, you are done. You are just too old. We've got this. It's time to pass the torch here. And I've seen that in my lifetime. It's time to pass the torch a few times. But when we're in the fight and we see one of our brothers or sisters about to be overcome by a giant, are we there for them? Or are we just tired of it? Don't we get our hands dirty? And I'm not preaching at you. I'm preaching at me. This has been a hard lesson for me to study. Now, I like to brag about the giant like I told you about the trials I've come through. Yeah, boy, I took that one out. No, I didn't. The Lord took it out. I didn't take it. The Lord took it out. Listen, God is a defender of the weak. This giant here, he's thought to have killed. He thought he finally had him. He had a new sword. He was there in the battle. His mission, these guys' mission was to take David out. And these men knew that. That's why they said, you're not going back out here anymore. Because the whole goal of the enemy here was to quench the light of Israel. We're going to face these giants for you, David. You can't do it anymore. You're too weak. You are faint. If we see some brothers or sisters of ours that are faint, are we going to take on the giants for them? Or are we going to love this present world? But I'll tell you this, if your friends do forsake you, what a friend we have in Jesus. Like John prayed, because of what he did, we're never alone. The loneliest time you'll stand is when you stand for what's right and you have to stand alone. That is a lonely time. I think Paul felt that. Demas hath forsaken me. I'm left to face these giants myself now. I'm fortunate to say I don't ever remember a time in my Christian life where I've had to face something by myself. And that's why I've told you young people over and over again, it's important on who you surround yourself with. Show me your friends and I'll know what kind of person you are. And I thank God that He has always surrounded me with a good Christian family or friends that wanted to help me when I had to face a giant. There are times when I felt lonely, but I really was not alone. They were there. And that's the way it ought to be. I ought not to have to go to the world to get help. If I do, shame on us. Shame on us. Listen, Jesus, in John 8, when the woman faced the spiritual giants, and that's in churches, that's more times what you will face than anything is spiritual giants. Listen, Jesus had just come down from the Mount of Olives, was teaching in the temple, and the scribes and the Pharisees brought this woman in the very act that says, what did Jesus do? He rescued her. Now, when he dismissed her, he said, go your way and sin no more. Go your way and sin no more. What about Mary? When she broke the ointment on Jesus' feet. And Judas said, we could have sold that and give money to the poor. What did Jesus do? He defended her. He came to her rescue. He slew that giant. Listen, Daniel was already in the lion's den when God showed up. The Hebrew children were already in the fire when God showed up. Lazarus had already been in the grave several days when God showed up. The children of Israel were already at the Red Sea when God showed up. David said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We're going to walk those ways, aren't we? We're going to face these giants, aren't we? Know that, listen, the giants might have the sight advantage, but we've got the right advantage. To face the giants of life. To face what comes our way. Listen, if we're on His side and not expecting Him to be on our side, then we can face these. And if we see a brother or sister in need, we can help them take it out. We can bear one another's burdens. I want to remind you, God is never late. Never late. He's always on time. I mean, think about that. Lazarus had been dead how many days? His sister, they done give it. She said, Lord, he stinketh by now. Can you see the human? That's me. Hey, why are we even going down here? And a miracle was performed. The giant of death was slain. And hey, listen, when we have to go face the giant, holy God, we don't face a certain death because Jesus has already took care of that for us. Listen, I want to challenge us this week. Don't leave the battlefield. You may be needed. We're not going to be able to solve and help each other in the recliner. Many times we're going to have to get our hands dirty. We're going to have to fight the giant for someone that has waxed faint. And I like to be that helping hand. Because there's going to be a day when Clay's going to wax faint. You little children, Keegley talked about going to be a physical therapist, and I asked her what one of the biggest challenges was. You know what she said? Money. Well, that's a big giant. I told her, I said, Granny Cohn's got it. Go see her. No. I told her, I said, let's pray about it. Morgan and them's in school. Well, I guarantee you, that's a giant. Pray about it. That's how you take it on, is through prayer. God owns the cattle on 1,000 cattle on the hill, doesn't it? Listen, as you go your separate ways, remember, we are not alone, because what a friend we have in Jesus. And when we're facing the giant, when we're in the fire, or we're in the lion's den, we're not there alone. We're not there alone. Now, do we believe that? Listen, I think about that. I think it was you or John last week, maybe it was you, that read the story where Jesus put the disciples deliberately in the boat and sent them into the storm.
Was it good?
Yes, sir. Okay. Sent them into the storm. Deliberately sent them into the storm. Why? So He could be glorified. In all my trials that I have come through and the giants I have faced and watched defeated, you know who was glorified? Now I have to be careful not to take that glory. That is the biggest challenge I face. Whenever there's a success, whenever I have killed the Goliath, giving him the thanks and the honor he deserves is the big challenge. Then, what to do after the victory. But we'll talk about that another day. Listen, Monday morning's giants are coming. Let's make sure we've prayed up and meditated and are ready for what comes our way. And when we see a brother or sister surrounded by a giant, let's take out the sword and take care of it. I love you. May the Lord bless you.